Oh, hold on a second. Yeah.
I'm getting ready to go.
All right. Greetings to the body of the people. This man called Chris Dorsey, and you're tuned in to the People of God sermon. Tonight we've got important news to discuss. I mean, like every week. So let's get right to it. We've got, as we speak, military still guarding the capital of the United States after a government staged insurrection. I mean, that's a stretch to call what happened on January 6th at the United States Capitol an insurrection. But in any event, whatever one wishes to call it, it was clearly staged by the government. We're learning more and more every day about who was behind it and why they did what they did. Today, reports of congressmen and over the past several days, members of Congress snubbing the being armed in a chamber of Congress and allegedly looking like, I don't know, chumps doing so, handing stuff off to their wives or a switchblade off to some congressman's wife, and then the Maryland congressman I'd never heard of. We'll get these guys' names in just a second. Trying to hand a gun over to somebody else. Pathetic stuff. Whatever. And now, what's really going on behind that? Because I've been to so many meetings, and it's government meetings, televised government meetings in chambers. And I'm almost always armed. And I'm not a member of Congress. I'm more important than a member of Congress. However, anyone is supposed to be able to be armed in government meetings. It's not an unusual thing. It's a long-standing tradition here in the United States. Greetings, Cliff, and not here in America, and throughout the world. Because really, when we consider what goes on inside government meetings, one should never be unarmed going inside of these meetings, because there are individuals who are armed. That's the police are armed, the security, a lot of the government officials are armed. Anybody who can be is armed. Now they are now starting to talk about folks armed not having a permit, that they're arresting for not having a permit. Now, I remember during the vote recount, this became a question of mine, because we were hearing about government-controlled agent provocateurs from Virginia associated with Virginia gubernatorial candidate Amanda Chase being arrested on terrorism charges regarding alleged intentions to watch, interrupt, have something to do with vote counting in Pennsylvania. So when I first heard this, I thought, well, Pennsylvania, it's not illegal to walk around with a gun. Except in Philadelphia and possibly some parts of Pittsburgh. So again, that's what's going on here in Richmond, because they canceled all lobbying events. And that wasn't to cancel all lobbying events. It was only to cancel the pro Second Amendment lobbying event. And there's a new law in the city of Richmond, a new statute, a new unlawful statute in the city of Richmond, stating that individuals, if they're part of a protest, cannot carry a gun in the city of Richmond and cannot go into, do what I have done every time that I've been a speaker, the hundreds and hundreds of times that I've spoken in front of the Richmond government or have protested in Richmond, Virginia. I have almost always done so while carrying a gun. Now they're telling me that, telling the people that is illegal. However, people are doing it anyways, and there are no arrests. So now they get into the parsing. Well, they didn't need a permit, and so therefore there's no violation. And now folks are fighting over one side or the other of this, just like they're fighting over one side or the other of armed Republicans inside the chamber when everybody's armed inside their office. So that's another thing to remember about what's going on and these alleged cowering members of Congress. There are members of Congress bragging about how they were armed and that they weren't worried about anything because they were armed. Good point. Seriously, it's not a scary crowd or anything like that. Nobody got zip-tied. We saw how there was a Capitol Police officer that was directing the social media characters that were taking selfie videos, sitting in leadership seats in the halls of Congress, inside the chambers at the United States Capitol. So we did see that. We did say, hey, here, you do this. That's cool. Don't do that. Hey, the zip tie guy, the U.S. Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, he was micromanaging the other actors inside of the chambers, inside the Capitol, saying, don't do this, don't be disrespectful. And so then that became this other thing. Somebody tells me not to be disrespectful, man, I don't listen to anybody, anywhere, at any time. But nobody's going to get away with telling me anything during any kind of demonstration, right? But these guys were like, all right, cool. So rough crowd, I guess. Rough crowd. The most ominous are micromanaging the others. Yeah, I got zip ties, meaning I intend to allegedly kidnap members of Congress. That's the Lieutenant Colonel in the Air Force Reserve. But hey, get your feet off the lectern and don't put your elbows on the dais or whatever it was he was telling them not to be disrespectful about. So we know that was fake, staged. We have Mossad agents. Here's another Mossad agent, just as we're thinking about things, because we're going to cover a lot of ground. Dr. Gold. U.S. Capitol. All right. I don't know if y'all saw this. Simone Gold arrested for role in Capitol insurrection. Doctor who joined Capitol attack condemned for COVID falsehoods. So again, this is the same folks on all sides of it. All sides. Like, it doesn't matter what you think about a vaccine or the information that goes out. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect me whether they're going to allow folks to carry long rifles in near the Capitol in the city of Richmond, Virginia, because I'm just going to walk around in the city of Richmond without a mask on and a 9mm on my hip. So that's what I'm going to do, because that's the law and that's my right. So I don't care what these other guys are going to do. And I don't care about some doctor who is saying good information about the coronavirus. I'll tell you something about the coronavirus right now. If you think that the problem is some sort of ball dropping with the distribution, you're wrong. I don't believe the statistics that say folks are looking for the coronavirus. I really think that this might be one of the things where Americans are not as dumb as they pretend to be, and that they don't wish to have anything to do with the coronavirus. We saw that in France, because they started distributing in the UK first, because remember they were playing the games with the first doses of the vaccine distributed in the UK, and playing the game with William Shakespeare, All the World's a Stage, where they are. I mean, I've seen more fake vaccine injections than real vaccine injections. Here in Virginia, they are separating government workers from regular Joe Schmoes off the street. And getting back to France, just to finish that thought, they were saying something like 5% of the population was going to get a coronavirus shot, and nobody was showing up. That's what's been going on around here. I've been seeing it in the news, and I see them lying about it. This stuff goes back a really long time, back during the financial crisis between the years of like 2008 and 2010, and being in the retail business, they would really hype up on the front page of the Richmond Times-Dispatch and the USA Today and the New York Times and the Washington Post. Crowds buying big during Christmas. And they would be showing, a couple people, because there just were no crowds. But again, they wish to create that kind of non sequitur in the mind, where they say one thing and you see another, and then they tell you you're crazy if you believe your own eyes rather than what they're just telling you. So when they're saying that they're having these mass vaccination events here in Richmond, Virginia, I see the numbers of folks showing up, and it's a very small amount. Now, they say that they're ramping this up and that they've got a plan, and I'm not saying that they don't. I'll never, if they wish to vaccinate a large percentage of the population and they're going to stick to it, I think they will. I mean, they have all the levers of power. They are combining the military and FEMA in one. Military and FEMA in one for something called Operation Warp Speed. So I believe that they've got something planned. Another interesting thing is they're not forcing the military to get vaccines. Seems strange. But I have inside information that they don't even have enough individuals to distribute the vaccine. That is one of the main problems, that nobody wishes to sign up to be giving the vaccines. They don't want to have anything to do with it. And that these individuals who are being forced to do this job, not voluntarily, in order to keep their job, or now that's their new job and their old job was something else, that they are being told what to tell folks who are coming back with injuries, that they're now being schooled. So this is the same source I got that information about martial law and how they were giving curfew passes out to what they were calling essential workers. And that's not going to be the last time that happens. But that is going to be a big element to what goes on. Not being able to... Max, stop. Max, he chews his feet. Doesn't do it all the time, but like when he does it, he really goes out and seems like he tries to rip out his toenails or paw nails. Anyway. So, and can't get the petty paw. He won't let anyone touch his toes to clip them. I mean, probably before we got him, somebody hit a blood vessel in his claw or something like that. But in any event, yeah, a lot of dogs are like that. Don't blame them, but where he's going to injure himself. Although he has not as of yet. Thanks to God. All right. So any event, we've got the Operation Warp Speed. At the same time, we've got the National Guard in Washington, D.C. National Guard in D.C. I saw reports that there were 60,000. They made a big deal out of the fact that, and I'm talking about the media, the Operation Mockingbird, the Pentagon filtered media made a big deal. There are more troops with shoot to kill rules of engagement in the United States than there is in Iraq. Following day, or the first day of the Biden administration, there is a suicide bombing in Iraq that kills allegedly 32. Could be more. So I guess Simone Gold was where we were going with this fake insurrection at the Capitol. Simone Gold, MD, JD, founder of the notorious pro-hydroxychloroquine anti-vaccine group America's Frontline Doctors, was arrested Sunday for participating in the storming of the U.S. Capitol earlier this month. So we've already established that they were waiting in line to get into the Capitol. This is a mistake to get onto this site. So okay, there's Dr. Gold. Let's look up Jewish Brooklyn judge, son, U.S. Capitol Okay. So here we got cops nab son of Jewish New York judge who stormed U.S. Capitol. Stormed. That's the one. That's the one we're using. FBI raids the home of Capitol rioter, Orthodox Jewish son of New York judge Aaron. This is the son, Aaron Mostovsky, Mostofsky, is released on $100,000 bond. Okay, well, that's a pretty serious bond. And faces felony count of theft of government property after storming the Capitol. His name is the judge is Judge Stephen Shlomo Mostovsky. And here's this guy. He's got quite a get-up on. He's, of course, right next to the Confederate flag guy, who looks a little not Confederate to me. And so does the guy behind him. All right. The FBI raided on Tuesday the Brooklyn home of Orthodox Jewish son of a New York judge over his participation in the storming of the Capitol last week by supporters of Trump. So this is from January 12th. Who was on the brink of impeachment. Yeah, so hey, news today, in case you missed it, which, I mean, I know everybody who, I mean, it's like, as soon as something comes out, it's like, it's out. Everybody knows it who's like paying attention. And they overwhelm us with this information. And that's their main tactic, is when they overwhelm folks with information, the natural reaction of the brain is going to be to just shut down. So they overwhelm us with this information about, oh, Donald Trump's definitely going to be impeached. He's not going to be able to run again. Oh, you really better get upset and worked up and, all this other stuff. And now they say, oh, we're going to delay the impeachment. Sorry. And then, oh, Joe Biden doesn't actually want the impeachment. And it would get in the way of Joe Biden getting approval of his Mossad handlers, his chief of staff, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Treasury. All the important roles are being divvied away to Jewish individuals. So let's get in that. We got that these guys are okay. So Mostovsky was one of many Orthodox Jews who came to the Capitol for January 6th rally featuring Trump that preceded the assault. His brother Nachman, as I pronounce it, Mostovsky, that's Shabbat reference there, who serves as the executive director of Chovevi Zion, an organization advocating for Jewish values from a conservative perspective on Capitol Hill, was also at the demonstration. I think it is going to be a crazy show of patriotism, Nachman told Haaretz 2 days before the event, adding he hoped the rally opposing the certification of Joe Biden's election would give Republicans who are maybe on the fence a little bit of ammunition to maybe push for a calling of the votes. Some inside information, inside baseball stuff, blah, blah, blah. He also rejects the idea that Trump's allegation of voter fraud in the election, this is Nachman Mostovsky, in the election he lost, is a conspiracy theory. which, yeah, it's not a conspiracy theory. And they'll even say it on the air. They'll say, well, there's fraud in every election, but it wasn't enough to tip the balance. So, what is the level of fraud that's okay? What is the level that will tip the balance? And again, a lot of these folks that were saying, hey, it's crazy to talk about election fraud and not certifying ballots. A lot of these members of Congress, they did the same thing on the Democratic side. Instead of when the Republicans won in a rigged election. So again, it's just a choose your own reality tunnel concept. Everybody's got their own reality tunnel, and they get to pick whatever side of the story makes them feel good. What we're saying is it's the same protocols of the learned elders of Zion agenda that's being pushed on either side of the reality tunnel. So you can pick this conservative reality tunnel and be a radical Zionist and embrace the Confederate flag and embrace conservative values, or you can be on the other side of the reality tunnel and push forward a white genocide agenda and then act as if you have privilege to be in your position and all the alleged white positions are taken by Ashkenazis. Ashkenazis. Just look at how it's spelled. Ashkenazis. Conspiracy theories when you see what's obvious and you start connecting the dots that are not obvious, he said. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. Someone who believes in conspiracy theories believes in a lot of them. So what does that mean? I don't know. But in any event, that's what these guys are putting out. That's what these guys are putting out to the public, that there is a bad guy, and the bad guy is white people, and that really these so-called white people who are being represented in the political sphere are always controlled by Ashkenazis. And that the individuals that control the media, that control the finances of the country, that control global banking, they scapegoat a group. And that group is associated with German politics of the early and up to the middle of the 20th century, and or American politics of the 1860s, 1850s, and 1860s. And then the so-called Jim Crow era. The so-called Jim Crow era. So-called. Because I've been seeing a lot of posts about when the people of Wilmington, North Carolina, basically ran out the government. It's because it was not representing the people. So what we have is just an all-out assault on the founding stock of America, which is the most refined of the so-called white people. The red people is more like it, the ruddy people, the Redskins, the Caucasian Native Americans found in Missouri that were from Wales, that had exactly the same. But again, this one has to know about history. One has to know about where we came from. and what we are doing and who are the imposters. And so I am not the same as Nachman or Shlomo Mostovsky. We're not the same. We don't look the same. We don't have the same genetics. And we'll get into some genetics about the American founding stock here in just a bit. But we will say that there is one side controlling both sides of the argument. And that there is one group of individuals that are being called terrorists now. And so I went through this back after 9/11, when what the media is doing to white people now, the media and so-called officialdom, what they're doing to white people now, they, for a brief period of time, were doing to Muslims, Islamic individuals, saying that they're the biggest terror threat, saying that they must be de-radicalized, that they must be re-educated, that they must be stopped by all means. They must be treated as enemies of the state. Now, this is being done to quote unquote white people. But if you're a so-called white person in a position, you take one or the two sides. Hey, white people suck, or it sucks that everyone's coming down on white people, while still remaining in one's position of authority, still maintaining one's own position of wealth. But I can tell you that the detail is going to be there's a lot less individuals that are going to be forwarding the, oh, it sucks that everybody thinks white people suck propaganda, and the majority of white talking heads on TV are going to publicly humiliate themselves and attack all white people and be deferential to all. And that a lot of these individuals are going to be Ashkenazis who are going to also claim to be a oppressed group by these white so-called supremacists. So let me tell you one thing right now. God is supreme. No one else is supreme. Nothing else is supreme over God. Everything is a creation of God. And everything deserves, every being and everything deserves the proper respect. So if that is what one calls white supremacism, I don't know what else to say. I can't be any more clear. I will tell you one thing. I'm for the liberation